Now, let me ask you this. What do you think of unpaid internships?
I think that unpaid internships are vital. I think this nonsense about how you pay interns is garbage. I mean, I understand that's the legal standard now, and so I will never say anything that puts us in legal jeopardy here at Daily Wire. We comply with all legal restrictions, requirements, and obligations. Yeah. But with that said, unpaid internships are absolutely vital, because why the hell would I pay an intern for a job when I can get a college graduate with a year of experience to do that job for the same pay? All you're doing is depriving people of the opportunity to actually get good at the thing. You're expecting people to start off at a level of good. It's really, really stupid. It's really stupid. I took in unpaid internships over and over and over again. I was an unpaid intern at an ad firm. It was great. It taught me how to write ads in pithy fashion. Again, I took a job for 1/3 the pay that I normally would make, because you need to get good at the thing. This is another one of my recommendations for people who are trying to, break in and they're aggressive, is there is no job that is below you. You like, if you think there's a job below you, that is wrong. When this company started, it started in Jeremy Boring's pool house. And on weekends, I would go into the office and I would see Caleb Robinson in the back room with Jeremy Boring's brother nailing planks to a giant piece of wood. And that was going to be the background of my set. Like, we just got a $5 million infusion. Caleb is in the back room with a hammer and nails and wood, and he's just nailing wood to wood. And that was like, that's the background that you see on the first episodes of my show.
What would you say about the argument that the opportunities go to people who can financially support themselves or have the background? Like for you, for example, you could afford to do that because you could live with your parents. You could also have something to fall back on. Versus people who need something to survive.
So, I think that that's true, but I think that they're misreading how the markets work. I think that is a good piece of compassionate talk, and I think it has precisely the opposite effects of what it seeks to achieve. You're saying, okay, well, if all the internships are paid, then, okay, but who do you think is going to get the paid internships then? Do you think it's going to be the poor kid, or do you think it's going to be the slightly richer kid? Well, why would it be the poor kid? Is that like the actual answer to that is that the only way that you're going to find a way in is by being competitive in the marketplace, and it doesn't make you more competitive for them to have to pay more. This is actually the predictable side effect of minimum wage. Minimum wage has removed virtually all teen employment in the United States. The teen unemployment rate in the United States, nobody looks at it, but like the unemployment rate at age of 16, which used to be much, much, much lower, is now much, much, much higher. Why? Because of minimum wage. Because why would you pay a 16-year-old minimum wage when I can pay a 19-year-old minimum wage or a 20-year-old minimum wage? When you artificially raise the cost of labor, people are going to artificially seek people to do those jobs who have credentials that they wouldn't necessarily need. You'll now see people who are suggesting that you have to have a college degree to be a barista at Starbucks. Why? Because you're paying that person $25 an hour. Like that's a serious problem. That's not going to get cured by this piece of, like, you can point out the problem and maybe it remains a problem with, I'm not saying it's not a problem with unpaid internship. I'm just saying that the policy recommendation that is being made to cure that, which is to mandate pay for unpaid interns, does not cure the problem. It exacerbates the problem. It means I'm just not going to have any. Why would I have a paid intern? Why not just hire an employee? It's a pain in the ass. Yeah. Like it creates all sorts of legal obligations. It's really foolish. And especially because there is a point, like we're assuming that every unpaid intern is 19 or 20 years old or 18. Like you're supporting yourself. You're trying to get through college. You're trying to do all that stuff. I don't know when you guys had your first kind of job, your first internship, your first apprenticeship, but I had someone I was like 13 or 14 years old.
Me too. Yeah.
That was not like amazing jobs, but I remember working an entire year at like the public middle school I went in, like the student store, making $1.25 an hour so that I could eventually buy a clock for my parents or something. Like I remember doing that sort of stuff. Like, again, this all sounds like, rich people talking about things that they could never understand if they were poor. But the reality is that virtually every rich person I know started off not as a rich person. Not as a rich person. Jeremy's family is poor, or at least lower middle class. Caleb's family, from what I understand, was not Caleb is like a high school grad. Jeremy dropped out of college. Like these are not families that like where you're talking about massive wealth. And again, even my family, and the assumption is because I'm an Orthodox Jew and because I went to Harvard that I must have like tremendous family wealth or something. Again, I grew up in the same bedroom as my 3 younger sisters with 1 bathroom for 6 people until I was 11 years old. That doesn't make me poor, but certainly doesn't make me rich. So like the rules that I'm saying are not about rich people not understanding. It's about look at the people who are rich and then ask them how they got to be that way. Right? That's the question that nobody wants to ask is how did the rich people get to be rich? Not How do we, do you have sympathy for the person who's poor? I have such sympathy for people who are poor that I want them to be rich. Here are the steps that are required to be rich. And if you see that as talking down to people, I don't know how it's talking down to people as opposed to saying, this is how you get here. I want everybody to be up here.
What would you say those steps are? If you were to simplify,
well, I mean, they're very basic ones. You got to finish high school. You don't have babies before you get married. You have to get a job. If you do those three things, you will not be permanently poor in the United States by all available metrics and evidence. That's the first step. Then to actually get rich, you have to develop a skill set. And you have to develop a skill set that people want from you. I've always said that that wealth, in terms of like broad overview, lies at the nexus of three things. And there's some pretty good business evidence to support this. That it lies at the nexus of things that you're good at, things that people want from you, and things that you're passionate about. There are a lot of things that you're good at, you're not passionate about. It's going to be hard for you to do those for long periods of time. There are a lot of things that you're passionate about, but that you suck at. There's no money there. Yeah. There are a lot of things that you're passionate about, you're good at, and that no one else cares about. And that's not going to make you any money either. What you need is the nexus of those three things. In that sweet spot is where the money is for you. And that can be in virtually anything. It really can be. Because this is a giant country, and it's a huge international economy. And there are niche markets in pretty much everything. I know people who are loaded as plumbers. I know people I know people who have made an enormous amount of money, like tons of money, by starting like cell phone kiosks at the mall. Yeah. I know one person in particular, a good friend of mine. He literally sold the company for hundreds of millions of dollars. He started off by selling like cell phones at a kiosk in the mall. I mean, like this, you can do these things, but you have to find that nexus. And you have to be passionate about it, and then you have to like really sacrifice for it.